One of the other things that we saw was Aryan Nations, which at one time was one of the largest white supremacy groups, originally based in Idaho for many years. Now what's left of it is actually in South Carolina. This particular group, after Wafa Idris became the first female suicide bomber in 2002, they put up a big memorial page in her honor, something that earlier white supremacists and hate groups would never do. But because she was out there trying to kill Jews, they were happy with her. So we get to a little bit more current, and I'm going to show you some things from our CD, some of the things that we see out there. This is one called Fetch the Rope, comes from a more recent white supremacy group, also has a couple of different incarnations. Shortly after the Haiti earthquake, they came out with this game, and I apologize, I must have done something wrong because my videos aren't working here, but this is actually a game which has an old country song from the 60s which uses very derogatory terms, the N-word, so forth, and the game is one where you see the Haitians in the setting with rubble and so forth, and your job is to drop bombs on the hapless Haitians. This came out within days of the Haitian earthquake. This one is a traditional Klan group which has branches in different states. Klan groups are becoming less and less these days because many of the Klan leaders have moved on to bigger, better things, taking off the Klan robes and putting on a three-piece suit. People like Tom Metzger, who was a Klan leader in California. The new Black Panther Party, there are extremist groups of every sort, whether they be African American, whether they be Hispanic, and so forth. Unfortunately, there's a great many more of the white supremacy groups. This is a typical forum. One of the ways the new kind of internet is using more interactive things between forums, some of the other social networking that I'll talk about. This particular one called Chimp Out is you can see what that's about. It's referring to African Americans as monkeys. This one, Mexicans Go Home, and as I say for everyone, this particular one, the Christian Party's been on for a long time, and it is one which has a poll as to whether we should send blacks back to Africa. Women for Aryan Unity, there's always something for the women. There are women's clans, groups, and so forth. As I say, whatever you want, it's out on the net. Games, I talked about the one. This is one that's become popular in recent years with all the talk about immigration and so forth. And this one shows the border, and you have the three on the side. You see the drug smuggler, the Mexican nationalist, and the breeder. And the game starts, and you see the river, the Rio Grande, and the sign says "Welcome to the United States." And your job is to shoot them as they come across the border. And the more you can hit with blood and gore, then you get points. Unfortunately, with all these games, I made videos of them that you'll find on the CD, so I had to get a little better at these games than I would have cared to. But this is one, Nazi Duck Hunt, which uses images from names of concentration camps and so forth, and it's a basic shooting game that it's your job to shoot the Jewish ducks and gain points. Anti-gay, homophobic game, pretty standard stuff, but as I say, there's something for everybody. Conspiracy theories abound. 9/11 is a very, very popular topic. People that think that there must have been some kind of government involvement in 9/11, or in some radical cases that Jews or the Mossad had something to do with it. Theories that say, 4,000 Jews didn't go to work in the World Trade Center that morning, and so forth. All kinds of conspiracy theories out there. And these people get so worked up about their subject and believe the different websites and videos that they see, they will go to extreme lengths. I've had the misfortune to tangle with some of these people over the years, and they get so committed to what they do is they in many cases do become dangerous, and they've done some things such as, you know, take hidden cameras into Congresswoman Jane Harman's office in California and others. But there are many conspiracy type things out there. This is just one. This is an interesting one because John Patrick Bedell, the Pentagon shooter earlier this year, believed in financial conspiracies and the like, and that there was some international criminal group that was actually taking over our government and so forth. What was interesting is that in his recordings that he left, Bedell never talked about Jews and the Zionists and money masters and so forth, but one of the white supremacy groups picked up his videos from YouTube, put it on their site, which is actually a white supremacist type YouTube site, and said that, you know, claimed that he was against Jews and the like. He never mentioned any of that in his videos, in his audios that he left, but he did believe there was some international criminal cabal that was taking over the government. James von Brunn, the shooter at the Washington U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum, was another who believed in many of these conspiracies. He was one that did believe that the Jews were behind most of it. He also, you know, had a criminal past. He had invaded the offices of the Federal Reserve back in the 80s and went to prison for it. Some of the forums after von Brunn was committed his attack and was eventually shot came on and praising him and saying, you know, what a wonderful American he was and so forth. Other disturbing ones, and we have this whenever there's something like an epidemic or something going on, people claiming, this one actually claims that the Catholic Church is behind swine flu, and that was all a plot. The Protocols of Zion, the infamous forgery from Russia, which claims that Jews have this whole plan outlined to rule the world, comes in a variety of different ways. This particular one comes from Facebook. It's a Syrian site, but there are many others as well. You can find the protocols on YouTube. You can find it on Amazon, China. It's propagated all over the world. Then we come to a subject that's been discussed and which is the most important when we're dealing with the internet because it's now the most prevalent, and that is social networking. And you will see when you get into the CD that I gave you, you will see many examples of this type of thing. One is recycling the original material. I mentioned Louis Beam earlier. Louis Beam was the idea who brought the concept of leaderless resistance, that small groups work independently but toward the same goal. He brought that to the white supremacy movement. We now see that propagated on Facebook, some of the original stuff. For every religion, for everyone out there, there's a group on Facebook against it. This is just one of the many. And there's an immense amount of anti-Islamic material out there, but by no means the only one, because everybody else is covered as well. This one, 20 things that you should know about Islam. This is an interesting picture here, because if you take a look at this, you see this picture here, which has their version of what they say is Muhammad, with a crescent flag, and it says Ein Volk, ein Ummah, ein Muhammad. That is actually a classic picture of Adolf Hitler and taking what was Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer. One people, one Reich, one Führer. And I don't have it in this presentation, but there's also somebody who photoshopped one with President Obama as well, doing in the same picture. If you look closely in this picture here, you look in the back, you see that they didn't Photoshop the original brown shirts, which are back there with the swastika armbands and so forth. Now this is an interesting case because I have to give Facebook credit. They actually do take a lot of material off when they're notified about it, and you notice with Facebook, if you've used it, on every single page there is report this group, report this posting, and so forth. They do take a pretty close look, and they do a pretty good job of it. But when it comes to these ones that I just showed you, various religions and the like, those they say, well, that's just that's just free expression, and we leave those on, unless somebody crosses the line in their eyes. And as soon as they take a group off, two more of them sprout anyway. But they actually have done a better job than a lot of places have. I do have to give Facebook credit. But the important thing is, and as I said, social networking is so important because it's made the internet so easy. You don't have to learn programming. You don't even have to. It's easier than even writing a blog, which you can update at any time. Putting together a Facebook site is a matter of a few clicks. Upload your favorite video, your quotes. It has made the internet so easy. And does anybody have an idea how many people we're talking about on Facebook? Yes?
400 million.
Exactly, 400 million. And a year ago, it was 200 million. It's absolutely incredible how large it is. And although they do a good job, it's amazing. I've been to Facebook's offices. They have about 1,000 people working there. It's just incredible what they've done in the short period. They've essentially only been around for 5.5, 6 years. And Facebook was created by Mark Zuckerberg, who was a student at Harvard and had this idea. He loved programming, he loved computer programming. He had this idea to put up a social site just for the students at Harvard. And he linked the different residence halls at Harvard and got their lists and so forth. And it went so well that they expanded out to other universities, and in the course of 5 years, 400 million people. It's absolutely an amazing story. There's actually a good book about it if you're interested. It's called The Accidental Billionaires. American Renaissance is a group which is actually a scholarly, quote, scholarly attempt to promote the ideas of racism and the like. They have these conferences, usually here in Virginia, bring in various speakers. They've even had Orthodox rabbi from a yeshiva in New York come and speak at their conferences. But they are out and out white supremacists. Just, like I said, for everybody out there that you can find something. This is obviously anti-Mexican. Curry bashing and anti-immigrants, all found on Facebook. This is an interesting one because this was a site which actually put up by some kids after they saw an episode of South Park, and where they had a thing against gingers, so they put a National Kick a Ginger Day on April 20th. I'm sorry, April 20th. I get confused. April 20th is Hitler's birthday. November 20th, and that happens to be the day I was at Facebook when this was up. And what had happened was it resulted in attacks on redheaded kids in middle schools all over the U.S. and Canada because they had put this site up there. This is a MySpace site, live by the 14 words or die. The 14 words is a typical white supremacist slogan. We must secure the existence of our race and a future for white children. Twitter is not left out. Jihad Inshallah, which means jihad, God willing. And there's many others. This is just one example, but that what they do is they will put, just since you can only get 40 so characters on Twitter, what they'll do is they'll put up a link towards that will point towards the newest attack, on a Humvee in Iraq or something like that. They'll just put up a Twitter post and you can link to it from there. This is an interesting one because this guy who nobody really knows too much about, T. West, right after the Haiti earthquake, put up this video suggesting that Israelis are actually, the Israelis had set up one of the first field hospitals in Haiti, and have been roundly praised for their work in Haiti, but this suggested that they were actually there to harvest the organs of the hapless Haitians.